just assess those two games? Obviously, a couple of different performances, but with the same result.
Yeah, the Wichita State game, we were really, really bad offensively, which, I think they shot 41% from the field, and we gave them 20 points on open court layups because of our bad offense. We just played really poorly offensively. They had something to do with it. They guarded us, and we didn't answer the bell there. And then on Wednesday against Northern Iowa, we played a lot better offensively, but we couldn't score in the paint, especially down the stretch. I want to say we were up 64-62, and we went 7 out of 8 possessions where the ball never touched the paint on offense, and we settled for some jump shots in places that we probably should have been a little bit more patient, and then those jump shots dried up. We made some earlier in the game, but they just dried up there at the end, and give them credit. They beat us. They're best guard. Just we couldn't guard them the last 5-6 minutes.
You mentioned this on your post game the other day, but how free throws eventually would come back to bite you. What do you do? Is that one of those where you go in the gym and you take a million, or is it more mental? How do you address that?
Yeah, I think it's more mental because it's guys that are missing, or guys, Jalen McCreary right now is just, with him, it's just a mental wreck. And that's what happens with guys that are just okay free throw shooters, and they start missing in games early in their career. Then they kind of don't want to go to the line. I remember P.J. Dozier, his freshman year. He did not want to shoot free throws because it just got to a place mentally where he was not comfortable at the line. And he'd shoot them in practice, but, when the game started, he'd get to a place, and it just happens. It's part of their growth as players. But there's other guys missing free throws that need to be making them, Justin, Jermaine. AJ's been making them as of late, but, we got to make free throws, and then we have to shoot more. You can't win high-level games, and you're getting outshot 24-11 from the foul line. You have to get to the foul line, and we have to do a better job of getting our guards to get free throws, and they have to do a better job when they're in the game, being more aggressive as far as attacking the paint.
Is that what you're talking about with the last 7-8 possessions the other night? Not getting to the paint?
Yeah.
Is the mental side of not wanting to take a free throw a part of that?
Yeah, if you look at them, look at Northern Iowa. That's the difference. The other part of the last 4 games we've played is we've played teams who have an intact roster from the previous year, and then have added high-level players or redshirt players to the roster they had the previous year. So we played 4 teams that have tremendous experience. And you look at the difference between us and Northern Iowa. Let's use that against this last one we played. We're, once again, it's 64-62 us. And they came down and they got the ball in the paint almost every single play. And the 2 times they did not, 35, the only shot I think he took all game, makes a contested 3 from the left corner. And then their best player makes an off-the-dribble 3 over AJ from the right wing. And, and when we had the open threes we missed, we had an opportunity. AJ was in a side ball screen. I can't remember the time of the game, but it was deep. It was like 2.5 minutes ago. Side ball screen where he had an opportunity to kind of get that ball into the paint and figure out a way, but the big guy was kind of off, and he took a pull-up jump shot from about 17 feet and missed. And that's they didn't settle for those shots. They basically said, we're going to put this ball in the paint and we're going to get to the foul line, and like I said, give them credit. We didn't do that, they did, and that's why they won.
Kind of sticking with that, putting the ball in the paint's a big philosophy for you guys. How hard is it to get any kind of offensive consistency when guys aren't getting the paint touches they're necessarily expected to get?
Yeah, it's hard. It's our points per possession when the ball touches the paint is right about 1.05. Our points per possession when the ball does not touch the paint is less than 0.5. And it's a big difference. We live in this world where everyone thinks that it's win and die by the three. You don't win and die by the three. You win by getting the ball in the paint. And if you don't get the ball in the paint, you're not. It's not a complicated formula. The closer the ball gets to the rim, shooting percentages go way up. And so you got to get the ball closer to the basket, and that allows you to get to the foul line, which puts fouls on players, which allows your defense to get set. All the different things that create advantages for your team, and we're not doing that right now. And part of it is, we got a bunch of guards that are playing college basketball for the first time, and outside of AJ. AJ obviously has played, but we got a bunch of guards that are doing it for the first time, and we're going up against teams that got guys that have been doing it for 2 and 3 years together. And but that's why we scheduled these games. We got to challenge our team. We got to take on these moments and not panic. Not, obviously anytime you lose, there's not a feel-good story coming out of the locker room, but that's part of the deal. We signed up for the season, and we got to take on these moments and grow as a team.
You play Jair's obviously an old team on Sunday.
Yeah.
How far you've talked about what a different program this is compared to the one he left in terms of style, stuff like that. Where is he now compared to where he was when you first got him?
I think he's a better player. I think he defends a lot better. He's still not defending as good as I think he will become. Offensively, I'm trying to understand how to put him in places where he can play. Here's the thing. This is the part that most folks don't comprehend how it works. It's easy to say, okay, well, I'm starting to figure out where Jair's really good at and where he's the most productive at. So let's run some stuff to get him in those areas. Well, the other 4 guys on the court have to understand the adjustments you're making. And when you're playing guys that are here for the first time, those adjustments don't go as smooth as they do when you got upperclassmen. And I'm not, that's why I say you got to be careful. So I don't ever want to come across like I'm making excuses. It's the roster I recruited, I put it together, so I've got to manage it and help those guys execute, whether they're Mike Coates, our 4-year starter, or Trey Hannibal, who's 3 months removed from high school. That's my responsibility. I've got to do that, but that's the reality of what we face this early in the year. As the year goes on, we'll be able to make some of those adjustments better. But when you're playing NCAA tournament teams, which is the teams we've been playing, this early in the year that have intact rosters, it's hard to make those game-to-game adjustments and be as productive as you want to be. But I'm starting to get a better feel for Jair, but I think he's playing better. His numbers probably looked better when he was at GW, and that's not a knock on GW. It's just, but I think he's a more efficient player right now.
You mentioned before the season started right at the beginning, you think this team could be a pretty good offensive rebounding team. Have you seen that through 7 games, or what do you think the biggest improvement needs to be from a rebounding standpoint as a whole?
Yeah, I think we can be. We've played 4 big physical teams, and we, Gardner-Webb game, we seal the game on an offensive rebound by Mike Kotsar. But everyone else is struggling with the physicality of these teams, and that's, when you don't just get the jump and chase the ball, you actually have to outwork somebody. And there's a guy that's actually, like Northern Iowa, you guys weren't there, but that Northern Iowa-West Virginia game was a clinic on boxing out. I'm sitting there watching that game, and West Virginia is as good an offensive rebounding team as there is in the country, and they couldn't get an offensive rebound. And Northern Iowa just doesn't let you go get it, and so you got to fight, and you got to be persistent. It's no different than any other sport. It's the will to continue to do it, even if you're not having success at the moment, because if you stop doing it, then the other team wins. And right now, with our young guys, we're battling that a little bit.
How do you teach kind of offensive rebounding? Is it just kind of as time goes on, Wildens and Alonzo and those guys will just keep getting better at it?
You can't foul. You can't just go in there and jump on people's backs. But you can't, take it for granted. We're not getting anything from Alonzo on the offensive glass whenever there's resistance. And that's on him. He's got to grow up in that department. Jalen and Wildens are just they don't understand how to deal with contact and continue to play. And when you play good teams and you go offensive rebound, they're not going to sit there and let you go now. They watch film and they prepare their teams, and when they're going, they're getting hit. And that's part of the game. I'm not trying to sit here and say those are fouls. They're not fouls. That's basketball. That's the way it should be. But when they get hit, they don't understand how to keep going through that contact to pursue the basketball. And then they get frustrated because they're young, because no one's ever whacked them. In high school, they were bigger and stronger than most guys and more athletic than most guys, so they kind of had their way. Now they're playing people just as big, just as athletic, with more experience than them, and nothing comes easy. And you have to learn how to grow out of that stage, and you do that by persistence, by never allowing them to accept that they're not doing it. Keep fighting. And eventually you become Chris Silva, a guy that everyone knew that he was going to go offensive rebound. They send their whole team to box him out, but he would never accept. He'd keep going, and eventually, instead of him wearing out, the other guys would wear out of boxing him out. And we have to create that mindset. Right now, we're a two-man offensive rebounding team, and that's Mike Kotsar and Justin Minaya. And Justin does a better job rebounding offensively from the 3 than the 4, just because I think the matchups are better for him. But we're getting nothing on the glass from Alonzo, from all the other guys. And then when we play Jermaine at the 3, he's not really a 3. He's a combo guard. Excuse me. So he does not know how to go. And we're asking him to do something he's never done before.
How close is Keyshawn?
Close. I'd say sometime this week. That's why I told you guys when he first heard it. Based on the similarity to the injury with Alonzo, it took Alonzo 7 weeks, I believe, to get back. I didn't want to give a date when he's coming back, but he won't play Sunday. Sunday's out the window. But I'm optimistic that he's going to do some stuff in practice tomorrow, and then we're going to start revving him up pretty good on Monday and Tuesday and see where we go from there.
After the Boston U loss, you said the team was hanging a lot of heads. The attitude wasn't great responding to it. Obviously, you don't want this team to get used to losing, but do you feel like the response has gotten better after this week?
Yeah, it was the resolve we played with against Northern Iowa. We practiced real good going into Wichita State. We just didn't handle the game well. We played a real good team, and we just didn't handle the game well. They came at us, and obviously it was an important game for us too. Don't misunderstand me, but it was an important game for them too. The opportunities that they had of playing at an SEC school and obviously a Big 12 school in back-to-back days. Greg Marshall playing against the school that he grew up rooting for. There's a lot of intangibles there that had them geeked up, and rightfully so. And we were geeked up too. We practiced well. The game started, and there was a physicality to the game that we didn't handle well. Especially there was about a 7-minute segment in the first half. That's where the game got away from us. If we would have held on a little better in that segment, maybe we end up putting us in a place where we can win at the end of the game. But we didn't. The game got away from us, and then when we battled and cut it to 7, had been down so much, and then we hit another dead spot the last 3 minutes or so of the first half, and then you're down 19 at the half. It makes it really hard against that kind of an opponent. But I thought our resolve yesterday was really good. Northern Iowa was really good. They might not be a team that folks around this neck of the woods read too much about, but they're a really good basketball team. They have a winning tradition that's been built up there for years and years and years. And, Ben Jacobson does a great job. They got seniors. Their point guard's a sophomore, and he's really good. He's a coach's son, assistant coach's son. That's probably why he went to Northern Iowa. I have no idea how they lost that West Virginia game. They have West Virginia down 13 with 7 minutes to go. And they missed some shots and allowed West Virginia. And then West Virginia made some big time. At the end of the day, you want to win those games, you got to make shots. And down the stretch, we couldn't make any jump shots. Jermaine gets a wide open 3, misses. AJ gets a wide open 3, misses. Mike Kotsar, who's playing his tail off for us right now, has that little 12-foot shot that he's gotten real good at. He missed it. AJ has an open court opportunity, just runs the guy over for a charge. Give them credit. We put them in a ball screen to create an opportunity for Mike in the elbow, and we made the pass, and their guy just made a great play and stole the ball from Mike. And, we had those empty possessions but you want to win the game. You got to, down the stretch, you got to score. And we couldn't score, and they did.
Anything else for Frank, guys?
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, Coach.